Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to share and subscribe the channel. The Shadow Eaters. The laser-cutting tool hissed as Ellie Mercer carefully removed another layer of fossilized vegetation from the temple entrance. Sweat trickled down her back despite the environmental controls in her exosuit. Planet Thea 7 had the most frustrating combination of high humidity and scorching temperatures, perfect for preserving ancient structures but miserable for the humans trying to study them. "Dr. Mercer, please tell me we're getting close," said Lieutenant Patel, the security officer assigned to her expedition. "Colonel Dravis is requesting another update, and I'm running out of creative ways to say, she's still digging." Elodie brushed a strand of copper hair from her face and adjusted her glasses. "Tell the colonel that archaeology doesn't run on military time frames. This structure is at least 8,000 years old. A few more hours won't matter." Behind them, the expedition's AI drone, officially designated Field Analysis and Research Navigator but nicknamed Fern by the team, hovered quietly, its sensors scanning the exposed stonework. "Dr. Mercer," Fern's synthetic voice interjected, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures through the doorway. Very faint, but definitely non-natural in origin." That got Elodie's attention. Energy. After 8 millennia. She quickened her pace, carefully removing the last layer of hardened vegetation. This could change everything we know about the Thean civilization. The massive stone doorway finally stood clear, its surface covered with intricate carvings depicting what appeared to be a great battle. Beings of light faced off against shadowy forms, while at the center stood a single figure with arms outstretched, capturing what looked like a star in her hands. "Fascinating," Elodie murmured, tracing the carvings with gloved fingers. "This doesn't match any known Thean artwork. The style is completely different." Lieutenant Patel shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, remember the mission parameters. We're here to assess potential weapons technology, not to admire the artwork." Elodie shot him a look. "Everything is connected, Lieutenant. Understanding their culture helps us understand their technology." With Fern's assistance, they managed to activate an ancient mechanism that caused the stone door to slide open with a grinding rumble. Stale air rushed out, carrying the scent of dust and something else, something metallic and strange. The temple interior was a vast circular chamber, its domed ceiling pierced with small openings that allowed thin beams of sunlight to illuminate the space. The walls were lined with more carvings, but what dominated the room was a statue in the center. Standing on a raised platform was the figure of a woman, or something woman-like, carved from a strange green stone that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. The statue stood nearly 3 meters tall, depicted in armor that resembled nothing from the records. Her face was proud, fierce yet beautiful, with an expression that seemed almost alive. In her outstretched hand was a crystal that caught the beams of light and scattered them in rainbow patterns across the chamber. "Fern, analysis," Elodie said, approaching cautiously. "The statue appears to be carved from an unknown mineral. The crystal in its hand is the source of the energy readings, Dr. Mercer. Composition unknown, but it's definitely producing a quantum field effect." Lieutenant Patel immediately activated his comm unit. "Colonel, we found something. You'll want to see this yourself." While Patel called in the rest of the team, Elodie circled the statue, examining every detail. Around the base were inscriptions in a language that wasn't Thean, wasn't anything she'd ever seen before. "Fern, can you translate any of this?" The drone's processor whirred. "Partial match to fragments found on 3 other worlds. Tentative translation, warrior of the light, protector against the void, and what might be a name, Verissa." "Verissa," Elodie repeated softly, the name feeling strangely right on her tongue. The statue's eyes suddenly seemed to flash, just for a moment, though Elodie told herself it must have been a trick of the light. Within the hour, the temple was swarming with military personnel. Colonel Harrison Dravis himself had arrived, a tall, imposing figure with gray-streaked dark hair and a perpetual scowl. He circled the statue with calculating eyes. "Impressive," he admitted reluctantly. "And you say the crystal is emitting energy?" "Yes, sir," Fern confirmed. "A quantum field that appears to be self-sustaining. By all known physics, this shouldn't be possible." Dravis nodded. "Tag it for extraction. We take the crystal back to the research facility." "Sir," Elodie protested, "we can't just remove artifacts without proper study. This isn't just technology, it's a cultural treasure." "This is a military expedition, Dr. Mercer, not a museum tour," Travis replied coldly. That crystal could represent an energy source unlike anything we've discovered. The consortium needs every advantage in the border disputes with the hegemony. As the team set up equipment around the statue, Elodie noticed an elderly local guide watching from the doorway. Nima was from the nearest settlement, one of the few indigenous people who still remembered the old stories. Your people have legends about this place? Elodie asked her quietly. Nima nodded, her weathered face solemn. The green goddess who sleeps in stone. They say she fought the shadow eaters long ago, creatures that devoured stars and souls. She trapped them away, but they tricked her, sealed her in stone until someone worthy speaks her true name. The old woman glanced nervously at the military personnel. The elders say she waits for the right voice to call her back. Just a legend, Elodie said, though something about the story resonated strangely. All legends have seeds of truth, Professor, Nima replied. And the seeds of this one. They say when she awakens, her ancient enemies will return to finish what they started. That night, as Elodie reviewed her notes in the research tent, she could have sworn she heard a whisper, a woman's voice, distant yet clear, speaking words in an unknown language. But when she looked up, there was only the wind rustling through the alien forest. Outside, the research camp hummed with activity as dawn broke over Thea, 7. Military technicians had spent the night setting up specialized equipment around the statue, preparing to extract the mysterious crystal from its grasp. Colonel Travis watched impatiently as his team reported one failure after another. What do you mean you can't cut through it? Travis demanded, glaring at Chief Engineer Harlow, a stocky woman with close-cropped silver hair. Sir, we've tried molecular disruptors, plasma cutters, even targeted sonic resonators, Harlow explained, frustration evident in her voice. The material simply absorbs or redirects the energy. It's like nothing we've ever encountered. Elodie observed from a distance, secretly relieved at each failed attempt. Something about separating the crystal from the statue felt deeply wrong, though she couldn't explain why. She returned to her translations, working to decipher more of the strange inscriptions around the statue's base. As the day progressed, Elodie found herself increasingly distracted by what sounded like whispers at the edge of her hearing, soft, melodic words in an unknown language that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Fern, she said quietly to the hovering drone, are you picking up any audio anomalies in the chamber? Negative, Dr. Mercer. All acoustic readings are within expected parameters. Elodie frowned. Run a diagnostic on my neural implant. Could it be malfunctioning? Neural interface functioning at optimal levels, Fern reported after a brief scan. No anomalies detected. By midday, Elodie could no longer focus on her work. The whispers had become more insistent, more structured, almost like someone trying to teach her words in a foreign language, repeating them until she understood. Ventum, she found herself mouthing silently, not knowing where the words came from or what they meant. When the research team broke for lunch, Elodie remained behind, drawn to the statue as if by an invisible thread. Alone in the chamber, she approached Varissa's towering form, studying the proud face that seemed somehow more alive than stone should be. Who are you? Elodie whispered. What are you trying to tell me? The statue's eyes flashed, a definite green glow this time, impossible to dismiss as imagination. The whisper came again, clearer now, Vent Kalnam Elodie. Her name. The voice had spoken her name. Startled, Elodie stepped back, heart racing. Fern, did you? But Fern had been left outside, and she was truly alone with the statue. Or not alone at all. Taking a deep breath, Elodie stepped forward again. Varissa. Can you hear me? The crystal in the statue's hand pulsed with light, and the whisper returned, time prison. Help. Speak words. What words? Elodie asked, her scientific skepticism battling with the undeniable evidence of her senses. How can I help you? Before any answer could come, Lieutenant Patel entered the chamber. Dr. Mercer, Colonel Travis wants an update on your translations. The whispering ceased immediately. Elodie composed herself, hiding her trembling hands. Tell him I'm making progress, but ancient languages aren't deciphered in a day. He's not a patient man, Patel warned, his dark eyes concerned. And he's under pressure from Central Command. The border situation with the hegemony is deteriorating. That evening, Elodie slipped away from the camp and sought out Nima in the local settlement. The old woman's dwelling was simple but decorated with intricate patterns that Elodie now recognized as similar to those in the temple. "You've heard her voice," Nima stated, not a question but a certainty. Elodie nodded. "How did you know?" "Your eyes have changed. They see inward now." Nima gestured for Elodie to sit beside the small fire pit in her home. "Few are chosen to hear the goddess, fewer still have the courage to answer. She keeps repeating words to me. Vent Kalnum. Do you know what that means?" Nima closed her eyes, rocking slightly. "The old tongue. I who am bound seek freedom's light. It is part of the awakening ritual." "Ritual?" Elodie echoed. "The stories say the green goddess gave her true name to the ancestors, to be kept until someone worthy could speak it and break her prison." Nima opened her eyes, fixing Elodie with an intense gaze. "But remember, Professor, to awaken her is to awaken her enemies. The Shadow Eaters have never stopped hunting for her." Later that night, unable to sleep, Elodie returned to the temple with Fern. The military guards were easily convinced to let her pass. After all, what harm could an archaeologist do? The chamber was lit only by moonlight filtering through the ceiling apertures, casting the statue in an ethereal glow. The whispering began immediately, more urgent now. "Fern, record everything," Elodie instructed, approaching the statue. "Verissa, I want to help you. Tell me how." The drone's lights dimmed slightly. "Dr. Mercer, I'm detecting unusual neural patterns in your brain activity. Perhaps we should return to camp." Elodie ignored the suggestion, focusing instead on the statue. The crystal pulsed, and suddenly images flooded her mind, stars being consumed by darkness, worlds falling to shadow, a desperate last stand, and finally, betrayal, a trap closing around a green-skinned warrior woman, transforming her flesh to stone while her consciousness remained trapped. Trapped. Aware. Through endless centuries. Gasping, Elodie stumbled back. "They imprisoned you," she whispered. "For fighting them, yes," the whisper was clearer now, forming recognizable words. "They feed on stars, on souls, on worlds. I stopped them, trapped them, but they tricked me, sealed me, waited. And now they're returning. The Shadow Eaters have always been here. Hiding. Watching. Waiting. Somewhere. Human faces now." A chill ran down Elodie's spine. "How do I free you?" "Find inscription. Hidden under platform." Fern hovered nearby, recording everything while displaying increasing electronic agitation. "Dr. Mercer, your vital signs are concerning. Your neural implant shows patterns consistent with external influence." "I'm fine, Fern," Elodie insisted, dropping to her knees to examine the platform's base. Sure enough, beneath years of dust and hidden by the angle of the stone, there was another set of inscriptions. As she studied them, Colonel Dravis's voice cut through the chamber. "Dr. Mercer, what exactly do you think you're doing?" Elodie stood quickly, brushing dust from her hands. "Colonel, I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd get some work done." Dravis stepped closer, his face half-shadowed. "My security team reports you visited the local settlement earlier. Consulting with that superstitious old woman. Nima has valuable cultural insights." "We're not here for cultural insights," Dravis cut her off. "We're here for military advantage." He gestured to the statue. "Tomorrow we're bringing in heavy equipment. If we can't extract the crystal, we'll take the entire statue." "You can't," Elodie protested. "This is a unique archaeological. This is a potential weapon, Dr. Mercer," Dravis said coldly. "And in case you haven't noticed, we're on the brink of interstellar war. The hegemony is pushing at our borders, and we need every advantage we can get." As he spoke, Elodie noticed something strange about his eyes. Just for a moment, they seemed to absorb the moonlight rather than reflect it. A sudden, terrible suspicion formed in her mind. "Of course, Colonel," she said, carefully neutral. "I understand the urgency. I'll have my final report ready by morning." After Dravis left, Elodie quickly copied the hidden inscription with Fern's help. "We need to translate this tonight," she whispered to the drone. "Dr. Mercer, I must report your unusual behavior to Fern, security override Mercer Alpha 93. Temporarily suspend all reporting protocols." The drone's lights flashed. "Override accepted." Reporting suspended for 24 hours. Back in her tent, Elodie worked feverishly through the night, combining Fern's linguistic database with what she had learned from Nima. By dawn, she had a translation and a decision to make. The inscription was indeed a ritual of awakening, confirming what the voice had told her. It required speaking Varissa's true name at the moment the planet's 3 moons aligned, which would happen shortly after sunrise. More disturbing was what she had learned about the Shadow Eaters. According to both Nima's legends and the temple inscriptions, they were parasitic entities that could inhabit other beings, wearing them like disguises while feeding on life energy. They had conquered much of the ancient galaxy before Varissa had led the resistance against them. And now Elodie was certain Colonel Dravis was one of them. Or rather, something was wearing Colonel Dravis like a suit. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Elodie made her choice. With Fern following silently, she slipped back to the temple, evading the guards who were changing shifts. The chamber was empty, the extraction equipment standing ready for the day's work. Elodie approached the statue, heart pounding. Through the ceiling apertures, she could see the 3 moons of Thea, 7 beginning to align. "I'm going to free you," she whispered to the statue. "But I need to know what happens then. Will you help us?" The crystal pulsed once. "Together. Fight them. Save all." It wasn't much of a guarantee, but something in the voice resonated with truth. Elodie positioned herself before the statue, the translated awakening ritual memorized. As the moons aligned perfectly, casting triple shadows across the chamber floor, Elodie began to speak the ancient words, culminating in what she now knew was Varissa's true name, the key to her prison. Vartham Varan Karoram Varam. The chamber filled with blinding green light as the statue began to crack. The temple chamber flooded with emerald light as hairline fractures spread across the statue's surface. The cracks multiplied, branching like lightning across the stone figure, each one emanating an unearthly glow from within. Elodie shielded her eyes yet couldn't look away as the miracle unfolded before her. Fern's sensors overloaded, causing the drone to drift erratically. Unprecedented energy signatures detected. Warning, quantum field destabilization in progress. The crystal in the statue's hand pulsed with increasing intensity, its light synchronizing with the spreading cracks. A high-pitched sound filled the chamber, like crystal singing at impossible frequencies. The stone surface began to fall away in sheets, revealing glimpses of something beneath, something that lived and breathed. "Dr. Mercer." Lieutenant Patel's voice called from the entrance. "Step away from," his words died as he witnessed the transformation. With a final resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through reality itself, the remaining stone shell shattered. Where the statue had stood now stood a living being, a woman with jade-green skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Her armor, no longer stone but some metallic substance that flowed like liquid, adjusted to her now smaller form. Her eyes opened, brilliant emerald pools that held galaxies within their depths. Varissa drew her first breath in a millennium, her chest rising as she filled long-dormant lungs. Her gaze focused directly on Elodie, recognition and something like affection evident in her expression. "Liberator," she said, her voice no longer a whisper but melodious and powerful. "You have given me breath again." Lieutenant Patel raised his weapon, but Varissa merely glanced at it, and the gun disassembled itself, components floating harmlessly to the ground. "Impossible," he whispered. "Many things once thought impossible become merely improbable with sufficient perspective," Varissa replied, stepping down from the platform with fluid grace. She approached Elodie, the crystal still clutched in her hand. "You spoke my true name. You broke chains that have bound me for 1,000 of your years." Up close, Elodie could see intricate patterns flowing beneath Varissa's skin, like circuitry, or perhaps writing in a language beyond human comprehension. Despite her alien appearance, there was something profoundly familiar about her, as if Elodie had always known her. "I had to," Elodie said. "The Shadow Eaters, they're here. One of them is inside Colonel Dravis." Varissa's expression darkened. "The void parasites, yes. I sense their taint." She looked to the crystal in her hand. "This is what they seek. The Star Heart. It contains the quantum key to their prison dimension. Without it, the barriers between worlds grow thin." A commotion outside the temple drew their attention, shouting voices, orders being barked, the whine of energy weapons charging. Lieutenant Patel looked between Elodie and Varissa, clearly conflicted. "Dr. Mercer, what have you done? The Colonel will have you court-martialed for this." That's not the colonel anymore, Elodie insisted. I've seen his eyes. Something's inside him, controlling him. Patel hesitated, years of military discipline warring with what he had just witnessed. I noticed changes in him since we arrived. Mood swings. Lapses in memory. Eyes that sometimes looked wrong. Verissa placed a hand on his shoulder, and Patel gasped as a brief flash of green energy passed between them. Your heart is true, warrior. You see clearer than most. The temple entrance exploded inward as military personnel burst through, weapons raised. At their head stood Colonel Dravis, his face contorted with fury, or perhaps hunger. Secure that alien entity, he shouted, and arrest Dr. Mercer for treason. As the soldiers advanced, uncertainty evident in their movements, Verissa raised the star heart. The crystal emitted a pulse of energy that froze the soldiers in place, not paralyzing them, but suspending them in a moment of time. Only Dravis remained unaffected. His eyes had changed completely now, becoming black voids that absorbed light. His skin rippled unnaturally, as if something beneath was struggling to maintain the human shape. You, he hissed at Verissa, voice distorted. The imprisoner. The last sentinel. We have waited so long for this moment. Not long enough, parasite, Verissa replied calmly. You should have remained hidden another millennium. Dravis laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally. Why? Your guardians are gone. The stellar accord that imprisoned us is dust. This species, he gestured contemptuously at the frozen soldiers, knows nothing of the ancient wars. They are blind. Weak. Perfect hosts. Humanity has strengths you cannot comprehend, Verissa countered. As demonstrated by my liberator. Dravis's gaze shifted to Elodie, and she felt an icy probe attempting to infiltrate her mind. Verissa stepped between them, her armor flowing to create a shield. You will not touch her mind, parasite. She is under my protection now. The thing wearing Dravis snarled. It matters not. The awakening signal has already been sent. The others come. This world will be the first to feed us, but not the last. He tapped a device on his wrist, and the air behind him shimmered as a portal began to form. Verissa reacted instantly, thrusting the star heart forward. A beam of emerald energy struck the forming portal, destabilizing it. Dravis howled in rage, his human disguise slipping further as his face briefly melted into something insectoid and alien before reforming. We must leave, Verissa told Elodie urgently. He has called to his brethren. This planet will soon be swarming with void parasites. But the people here, the settlement, Elodie protested. Verissa nodded grimly. We will warn them, but our priority must be keeping the star heart from their grasp. If they reclaim it, they can release their entire species from the prison dimension. Lieutenant Patel, who had managed to avoid the time-freezing effect by diving behind a column, emerged cautiously. I have a shuttle, he offered. Fast, well-armed, enough range to reach the nearest jump point. Verissa's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Another human whose mind sees truth. Perhaps there is hope yet. As they spoke, the thing in Dravis's body convulsed, black ichor seeping from his eyes and mouth as it abandoned subtlety for power. His body began to transform, limbs elongating unnaturally, skin hardening into a chitinous exoskeleton. Run! Verissa commanded, unleashing another energy pulse that sent the transforming creature flying backward. They fled the temple, Patel leading the way through the research camp, which was now in chaos. The sky above had taken on a strange hue, rippling with auroras that shouldn't have been possible in daylight. The barrier between dimensions is already weakening, Verissa explained as they ran. Your awakening ritual and my freedom have created a quantum resonance the parasites can exploit. They reached the settlement just as the first screams began. Shadows moved unnaturally, detaching from objects and slithering toward people. Where they touched, humans froze, their expressions locked in terror as darkness seeped into them. Nima. Elodie called, spotting the old woman standing calmly in the center of the chaos, a strange symbol painted on her door. The shadows seemed unable to cross the marking. The old protections still work, I see, Verissa noted with approval. Nima bowed her head to Verissa. The stories were true. The green goddess returns. I am no goddess, elder, Verissa replied. Merely a warrior who has slept too long. The settlement is lost, Nima said grimly. The shadows are hungry after so long without feeding. Take what you need and go. Finish what was started 1,000 years ago. Varissa looked pained. We cannot save them all. No, Nima agreed. But you can save the stars themselves. Go. Patel's shuttle was sleek and military grade, designed for stealth and speed. As they approached the landing pad, a monstrous form burst from the research camp, what had once been Colonel Dravis, now fully transformed into a creature of nightmare, multiple limbs, a carapace of shifting darkness, and countless eyes that burned with hungry void. Get to the shuttle, Varissa ordered. I will hold it back. Before Elodie could protest, Varissa strode forward to meet the creature, the star heart held in her hand. She spoke words in an ancient language, and her armor flowed, forming blades along her arms. The creature howled and charged. What followed was a battle unlike anything human eyes had witnessed. Varissa moved with impossible speed and grace, her blades slicing through the creature's limbs, only for them to reform from shadow. The parasite struck back with tendrils of darkness that seemed to bend space itself. Patel dragged Elodie toward the shuttle. She can't win that fight alone. She's not trying to win, Elodie realized, watching Varissa's movements. She's buying us time. They reached the shuttle, and Patel initiated the launch sequence with practiced efficiency. The engines hummed to life as Elodie watched the battle through the viewport. Varissa was now surrounded by 3 parasites, the original creature and 2 more that had formed from shadows. She fought with a warrior's precision, always keeping the star heart protected, but she was clearly outnumbered. We have to help her, Elodie insisted. Patel grimaced, then activated the shuttle's weapon system. Targeting subsystems online. This might get her attention, at least. He fired a warning shot that struck near the combat, creating a momentary distraction. Varissa seized the opportunity, unleashing a wave of energy from the star heart that knocked the parasites back. In that instant, she leaped, an impossible jump that carried her 30 meters through the air to land on the shuttle's boarding ramp as it began to rise. Impressive timing, she commented, stepping inside as the ramp sealed behind her. Patel didn't waste a moment, engaging the shuttle's full thrust. They shot upward through the atmosphere, the settlement and research camp quickly shrinking below them. As they broke through the cloud layer, the true horror of their situation became apparent. The sky was torn with rifts, dark gashes in reality that pulsed with malevolent energy. And entering through the largest rift was a massive ship, its design both organic and mechanical, resembling nothing in human records. The Void Armada returns, Varissa said softly. After 1,000 years, they found me again. Can we outrun them? Elodie asked. Patel checked his instruments. Maybe. This shuttle has experimental stealth tech. If we can reach the jump point before they lock on. They will be tracking the quantum signature of the star heart, Varissa noted, studying the pursuing ship. And me. Then we'll just have to be faster, Patel said grimly, pushing the shuttle's engines beyond recommended limits. As they accelerated toward the jump point that would take them to safety, Elodie noticed Varissa looking back at the planet with an expression of profound sadness. I am sorry, the alien warrior said quietly. Once again, innocents suffer for my war. Elodie placed a hesitant hand on Varissa's shoulder, surprised to find it warm to the touch. You didn't cause this. You fought to stop it. Varissa turned to her, those ancient eyes searching Elodie's face. Perhaps. But now you fight it too, Liberator. And for that, I am both grateful and sorrowful. The shuttle shuddered as energy weapons from the pursuing ship grazed their shields. Patel cursed and executed a series of evasive maneuvers. Jump point in 60 seconds, he announced. If we make it, we'll have a chance to warn Earth. If not. Varissa straightened, her expression resolute. We will make it. The war that began a millennium ago enters a new phase today. She looked at Elodie. And this time, I do not fight alone.